It's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast presented by DraftKings. It is a Power Rankings Tuesday in which I will talk about every single team in the NFL. I might sing a little bit. Yes, even your team. The Ross Tucker Podcast Network promise, we try to make every show 30 minutes or less. Perfect for your treadmill time, perfect for your commute time, perfect for you to know exactly what's going on in the NFL from a former player's perspective, maybe chuckle a little bit. That's what we do. We also give away winners because we love those of you that do anything to help grow the show, whether that's spreading the word via social media. We are especially looking for quote tweeters on Twitter, and sharers on Facebook. I think those are the two biggest bangs for our buck. So we love when you guys do that. We also love the sponsor confirmation email winners. I've got 5 more Maddens burning a hole in my desk here at my house. Who wants them? Telling you right now, you know what? The first person that sends me a Keeps subscription this week, that might be the winner. Now, I might not get one. So if you send me other sponsors, you might be the winner. But the first person that signs up for Keeps, I think the first month's free. So why not? Just go to keeps.com/Ross or keeps.com/Feast or Even Money or any other one. Send it to me. And I will be looking for that to give away a Madden this week. YouTube shout out, I love because it's just a comment. It's just a very easy comment at youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. I see them all come through, and we're trying to grow our subscribers there. So I love those of you that do that. And a shout out today to Corey Hudger. It's amazing how many patrons we're getting, but that's what happens when me and Steve Fezzik are up a combined 15 units for week 3 in the NFL. And I think we're up, I don't know, like up 21 units for the season already. So no wonder everybody wants to go to patreon.com/RT Media, sign up as a Tuckhead so you get to see grades post all of our bets ahead of time so you guys can just make money. It's the best $10 a month you've ever spent in your life. It's big show time.
The Big Show.
Hey, Ross. Good morning. Dak returned to AT&T Stadium last night in Monday Night Football. 3 touchdowns and a 41-21 Dallas Cowboys win over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right. So, I guess the first thing I would say is, because we didn't really get a chance to talk about it last week, is that, well, we did talk about it a little bit, but Jordan Mailata hurt his knee in practice on Thursday. We found out about that Friday afternoon after a Picks Friday, and clearly well after I'd actually made my bets on the Even Money podcast. So Andre Dillard got the start. And if you're looking for a positive for the Eagles, I guess one of the positives would be that I thought Andre Dillard actually did some positive things, did some good things. I thought a few things, Bri. I thought, number one, I thought the Eagles were outcoached on both sides of the ball. I don't understand why they did not run the ball more, especially early in the game when the game was still competitive. I understand the thought process between throwing early to get the lead and then running late to, preserve the lead. But the Cowboys' defensive front is undersized and fast. I would have thought the Eagles would have tried to take advantage of that, try to slow them down a little bit, lean on the Eagles' big offensive line, and also, really try to give the defense a little bit of a rest. That's not what happened. The Eagles came out throwing, and their quarterback did not play well at all. So that really compounds things. When the ideas come out throwing and the quarterback doesn't play very well, they didn't really get Jalen Hurts very many easy completions early in the game either. And then on defense, their philosophy is they want to have 2 deep safeties as much as possible. They don't like putting their corners man-to-man on the outside. I get it. But then when you have the two deep safeties, you're very susceptible to the run game, and the Eagles got run over. They do not do a good job getting off of blocks against the run, and they're kind of a gap short. They're kind of a man short with what they're doing. And then they still got beat on zone beaters in the passing game. The Cowboys are still able to get CeeDee Lamb or the tight end Schultz for a touchdown on zone beaters. So it was sort of a all bad, no good combination of errors there for the Eagles. Then they have a million penalties again, which is a bad look, costly penalties. I thought Hargrave was by far the Eagles' best player, including getting him that touchdown for Fletcher Cox, who caught the ball in the air after Hargrave knocked it out of Dak Prescott's hands. But Hurts really struggled all night, including two bad interceptions, one of which was a pick six that I know Devontae Smith fell down, but I think it would have been a pick six anyway. For the Cowboys, man, I thought Dak was awesome all night. And that's one of the things, right? It's sort of like the stark contrast between the way Hurts played and the way Dak played. Dak has played stellar all season so far. He's played very, very well all three games. Dak was awesome. The O-line was good for the Cowboys, with the exception of Biotish and Connor Williams, who had their hands full, absolute hands full, with Javon Hargrave and to a lesser extent, Fletcher Cox. Trayvon Diggs for the Cowboys, very impressive. He made a bunch of plays, including that pick six. Micah Parsons wasn't quite as dominant as he was the week before, but he still had a tackle for loss, a bunch of other tackles, some pressures, batted down a pass. I mean, he still impacted the game in a lot of ways. I honestly, if you're a Cowboys fan, the best thing you got going is probably, I think your coordinator's doing a really good job. Mike McCarthy's end of the first half clock management. Bri, I am flummoxed. I am stunned. The Eagles had 3rd and 24, and he didn't call a timeout with like a minute and 50 seconds left in the first half. I have no idea whatsoever what he was doing. Such a bad look. If I was the owner of that team, I would need a real good explanation for that. And I guess the last thing I would say is Isaac Seumalo. The Eagles were already without their starting right guard, Brandon Brooks, their starting left tackle, Jordan Mailata, and then Isaac Seumalo suffered what looks like a bad injury. So that makes things obviously even worse for the Cowboys. For the Eagles, that they had a bad injury like that. It's one of those games, Bri, that you say, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to take losing my hair this early in my life. I'm going to take keeps. 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35. Listen, guys, I have talked with doctors about this. You don't actually see hair loss until you've lost 50% of your hair follicles in that area. Please, if you care at all, and I know a lot of you do, take the 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss. Keeps offers both. I've been taking both of them since well before I even heard of Keeps. Before Keeps was even a company, I've been taking both of them. It's the pill, and then it's the thing you rub on the top of your head in the morning and at night. And then I found out about Keeps. Don't have to go to the doctor. Don't need a prescription. Don't need to go to the store. They send it right to my house. It is awesome. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss and get a free copy of Madden, go to keeps.com/Ross to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/Ross to get your first month free. Keeps.com/Ross. You will be so glad that you did it.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
This week, number 32, the New York Jets.
First time for the Jets here. They're not showing any signs of life on the offensive side of the ball. And the defense is decent, but not great. So I think right now, if they all played, I think the Jaguars would beat them in a series. I think the Giants would beat them in a series. I think the Jets are the worst team in the NFL right now.
Number 31, the Jaguars.
The Jags have done a few positive things. I mean, they had that drive where they ran over the Cardinals. Trevor Lawrence makes a couple of throws each game where you're like, okay, but they still lost by 12 at home. It's hard to act like they're good.
Number 30, the Giants.
By the way, as far as the Jags are concerned, Brian, we do have a trade. The Jags traded last year's first-round pick, C.J. Henderson, a top 10 pick, and a fifth-round pick to the Panthers for tight end Dan Arnold. They're trying to get Trevor Lawrence some favorable matchups, some easy completions in the middle of the field, and a third-round pick. So this is what you call selling low if you are the Jacksonville Jaguars. But C.J. Henderson, I've heard a few things about him. He's got some real challenges, I think, off the field. And I think that's why the Jaguars decided to cut their losses and just get anything in return for him. And now Matt Rule and the Panthers will try to figure out whether or not they can actually, get it out of him, whether they can actually, find a way to get the talent that C.J. Henderson clearly has.
All right.
You said the Giants.
Giants.
Yeah, so the Giants, Blake Martinez, torn ACL, brutal for them. One of their leaders on defense, one of their best players on defense. Their defense has actually been pretty decent. So that's a big negative for them, clearly. And they're in a bad spot. They spent a lot of resources with Tony and Galladay to get the offense going. Unfortunately, they haven't done enough to improve the offensive line, which is still their greatest liability.
Number 29, the Colts.
Did not expect to see the Colts here, but they're losing games. They're not showing a lot of signs of life. Wentz is still banged up, and it's getting late early, as the expression says, really for the Giants too, but also for the Colts. I guess the good news is their division isn't that overwhelming, so they might be able to get this thing turned around, but the Nelson high ankle sprain injury is not good. Not a lot of positivity for the Colts right now.
Number 28, the Texans.
So the Texans, looks like it'll be Davis Mills time again. It's going to probably be tough for them to be really good or really competitive while Davis Mills is the starter, although I didn't think he was that bad last Thursday night, and that was on a short week, so I guess I'm curious to see how he performs this week.
27, the Lions.
In all three games, the Niners game, the Packers game, clearly the Ravens game on Sunday, the Lions have, been right there. They had the lead at halftime against the Packers. And then in the Niners and Ravens game, they were within one score or had the lead late. So the Lions, as far as 0-3 teams go, bad teams go, they're actually not that bad, if that makes sense.
Number 26, the Chicago Bears.
Well, I mean, I suppose the Bears have a win, and I suppose the Bears have some good players on defense. Need to check on that Khalil Mack injury, but Mack and Roquan Smith and obviously Akeem Hicks. But Matt Nagy said they're considering all three quarterbacks, which is not a good look. But then again, Justin Fields in the offense were not a good look on Sunday.
25, the Washington football team.
Probably one of the biggest surprises of the season so far to me, so far this year, Bri, has been the Washington defense. I don't get it. I thought they would be the best team in the division. I thought they were the favorites with Fitz at quarterback, and that defense has taken a huge step back at this point. Huge.
24, the Falcons.
Falcons got to win. Falcons have gotten better each week. You know, certain teams, like the Eagles, for example, have gotten worse each week now. You know, the Falcons have gotten better each week. So kudos to the Falcons because Arthur Smith, you know, I don't think they're a very talented team, but they got better from week 1 to week 2, and they were competitive against the Bucs. Now they beat the Giants. There's some signs of life there.
23, the Bengals.
Can't say I thought the Bengals would be 2-1 at this point. The Bengals would be, you know, 23rd in my power rankings, but you know what? They've got some young studs. Jamar Chase, Logan Wilson. You know, the offensive line was actually better against the Steelers too. Burrow had time to throw the ball. Give the Bengals some credit, man. They deserve it.
Speaking of the Steelers, they are number 22.
Right. And I think it's dubious right now whether or not they would actually beat the Bengals in a series of 7 games in my backyard right now. Maybe just because in my backyard, there'd probably be a lot of Steelers fans because there's a lot of Steelers fans around here. Maybe that helps them, but the Steelers need to get healthy. And you look at the Steelers' upcoming schedule, it has a chance to be an all-time bad Steelers season. It really does. I mean, it has a chance to be really ugly. Steelers never have losing seasons. At this point, that's looking imminently possible.
Number 21, the New England Patriots.
Wow. You know, I do these rankings, Bri, but then I do them last night, and then I wake up this morning, it's like just seeing the Patriots at 21 is strange. But they were thoroughly dominated on both sides of the ball by the Saints. All they've really done is beat a Jets team that's last in my rankings. And I just don't think the Patriots are very good. I thought that was the worst game Mac Jones played. I think the Patriots are in trouble against Brady and the boys on Sunday night.
Number 20, the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, number 20. So the good news is that Jacoby Brissett was able to really make some plays and keep the Dolphins in that game. You know, Jacoby Brissett, I think, showed himself to be a very competent backup quarterback and fill-in starter. The bad news is it doesn't feel like the Dolphins' defense is playing as well as they did last year. You know, they're giving up a lot more yards and points to the Bills, to the Raiders than they did last year. They were opportunistic last year. Feels like this year, not so much.
Number 19, the Eagles.
Eagles, Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. So I already talked about them. They're going the wrong way, and boy, do they have a tough schedule coming up. They got to play 2 undefeated teams, and they got to play the Bucs and the Chiefs, the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl. So the Eagles are now staring down the barrel of a 1-6 start. Obviously, last night was not good, and it really reinforces, Bri, they needed to beat the Niners. They outplayed the 49ers. In the NFL, when you outplay them, you got to win it because you're going to have games like last night where you absolutely get outplayed.
Number 18, the Seattle Seahawks.
So a lot of concerns there for the Seahawks. Their second half offense is not good. Their defense has taken a big step back after week 1. They've gotten torched the last couple weeks. You know, this is kind of why Russell Wilson wanted out. And if it keeps going south, I think Russell Wilson will probably get his wish in the offseason and get out of there.
17, the Titans.
Back-to-back wins for the Titans, and they are a team that goes into the improving category, right? So They were bad week 1. Then week 2, they weren't good in the first half, but got better in the second half. Then week 3, they were pretty good all game. So the Titans are on the flip side of some of these other teams. The Titans are on the getting better and looking like clearly the class of the AFC South, which probably isn't saying a whole lot, but they are.
Number 16, the Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings. Said it before. I'll say it again. Kirk Cousins is playing extremely well, deserves a lot of credit for how he's playing right now. And I think the Vikings are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think they were very unfortunate to lose those first 2 games, and they might come back to haunt them. But I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to be in this thing until the end.
Number 15, the Dallas Cowboys.
Very impressive last night. Really both sides of the ball. Kellen Moore was dealing as a coordinator. Dak has played so well. Dan Quinn, that defense looks fast and aggressive. Cowboys are going to be a factor too. We're getting into the factor zone of the teams that look like they really got a shot to really be good.
14, the New Orleans Saints.
Saints have been hot and cold, but boy, was I impressed with their defensive performance in Foxborough. I mean, that was a dominant defensive performance by the Saints in New England. And I don't know that Jameis played great, but I thought, you go up to New England and you beat them like that, that really speaks well of the Saints.
13, the Chargers.
Go, Chargers, go. San Diego Superchargers, San Diego Chargers. Huge win for them, clearly. They still kind of find a way to make games more difficult than they need to, I feel like. They always play a one-score close game. They don't always get the better of it. They've gotten the better of 2 of them. They lost 1. That's just kind of the Chargers again this year. I guess under Staley, they're more likely to win those than they were under Lynn.
Number 12, the Ravens.
Ravens, I thought, took a pretty big step back against the Lions. They were missing a bunch of guys on defense on the COVID list, and they had Hollywood Brown drop several throws, including a couple touchdowns. So maybe the game wouldn't have really been that close.
Number 11, the 49ers.
So Niners, Josh Norman, by the way, has 2 bruised lungs and tissue damage, but they're saying he's still likely to play this week. I don't know about that, man. I don't know how that's the case. 2 bruised lungs. Maybe I just don't know enough about bruised lungs, but that seems like one where I might want to sit out a week if I had the 2 bruised lungs. That would be one, Bri, where I might pump the proverbial brakes a little bit and not go out there. Pump the Duralast Elite brake pads, if you will, available exclusively at AutoZone. We all know Duralast parts are proven tough. Well, these Duralast Elite brake pads, they last 3 times longer than a typical Duralast pad. That is good news, especially if you find yourself in a lot of stop-and-go traffic, or if you typically drive with heavier loads in your car. It means you'll have safer, smoother, quieter stops. They're even made with copper-free ceramic, so they're eco-friendly. So you'll get high-end brake performance with low-end environmental impact. It's pretty cool. And since AutoZone has over 6,000 locations nationwide, more ways to shop online in-store, you'll have no problem picking up a set when you need it most. The future of stopping starts with Duralast Elite brake pads, only at AutoZone.
Number 10, the Green Bay Packers.
So the NFL says that they followed all the protocols on the Davante Adams concussion check. I guess I would say one of the real good things for them is that it felt like their defense played better. Second half against the Lions, for the most part against the Niners, even though they gave up 28 points. I thought there were some positives there.
Number 9, the Arizona Cardinals.
3-0. You know, they were fortunate to beat the Vikings on that missed chip shot field goal. And they still had some issues against the Jags, but a double-digit win on the road in the NFL is a double-digit win on the road in the NFL. So kudos to the Cardinals.
Number 8, the Carolina Panthers.
So the Panthers made that big trade we talked about, and they've had a pretty light schedule. Although, you know what? They beat the Saints. They beat the Saints bad. So give Carolina some credit. I am really curious to see how they keep going. Losing J.C. Horn, who they put on IR, that's a tough one. He's a good player.
7, the Raiders.
The Raiders are undefeated. 2 overtime games where they overcame double-digit deficits. Man, that's not sustainable, Bri, but it sure is impressive.
Number 6, Kansas City Chiefs.
A lot of things to talk about with the Chiefs. They signed Josh Gordon, who is evidently off the suspended list, I think. So it sounds like they'll get Josh Gordon soon. They were really looking for a third option. You know, they have Tyreek Hill. They have Travis Kelce. I guess they just didn't feel like Pringle or Hardman were good enough as that third wheel, so to speak, that they had with Sammy Watkins. And then the good news is Andy Reid was released from the hospital. Sounds like he'll be coaching this week. Not sure what happened there. They're not releasing details, but it sounds like he's okay, which is a great sign. He's an awesome dude.
Number 5, the Cleveland Browns.
Browns defense got after it against the Bears. Browns O-line and running game, good. They got Odell back. Browns are one of the better teams in football.
Number 4, the Broncos.
Broncos suffered a blow. You know, the Broncos are another one of those teams that have had a decent amount of injury issues in recent years. KJ Hamler, young, explosive, really gifted receiver out of Penn State, torn ACL, done for the year. Now, they do have some depth at wide receiver with Patrick and Sutton, but Hamler was a game-changing type of player. He just added a different element for them.
Number 3, the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. Hey, hey, hey. Bills make you want to shout. Raise your hands up and shout. Twist your hips and shout. And shout. And shout. Hey, 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 hey. I should probably learn more of the words. Josh Allen is a stud. The Bills looked awesome against Washington. The Bills looked awesome 2 weeks in a row. The Bills are who we thought they were. Let's see if they can keep it going. I hope they can.
Number 2, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Not dropping them that far. Nope, not going to do it. They lost one game on the road to my number 1 ranked team. I still am taking the Bucs in a series in my backyard over a lot of teams in the NFL.
Russ's number 1 team, which is totally meaningless, but it's fun and will get many of you incredibly annoyed, is...
It's the Los Angeles Rams.
You know, nobody really cared when it was like the Chiefs or the Bucs number 1. I wonder, though, if there's some people that will say, the Rams don't deserve to be number 1. The Rams aren't number 1. We shall see. But right now, they beat my number 1 team. They did it fairly convincingly. Quarterback's playing well. They got a lot of weapons on offense. O-line's playing well. Defense doing pretty good. They're my number 1 team. Shout-outs, Pizza Boy Brewing, Sporticulture, Vision Comics with an X, HumanHeadNYC.com, SteakhouseSports.com. We are dominating these days on the Even Money podcast. Highly encourage you to check it out. We'll also record the College Draft podcast, which is 3 podcasts in 1 today with Emery Hunt. Check both those out. Make sure you subscribe and either watch or listen. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Fantasy Feast, Even Money, Business of Sports, and College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
A lot of times on the show, I mentioned DraftKings. Here's what you need to know. You got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. By the way, if what I was talking about included a deposit bonus, doesn't always, sometimes it does. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough, and deposit bonuses are paid out in site credit.